What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tyler. Truck is the Sandworm, and today we're going to be doing a 20,000 mile review. We are just over 20,000 miles by 100 miles, and we're going to start with the exterior, make our way to the interior, and then the drivability. We're going to talk about some things that I like, some things that I've learned across the ownership of this, and then just some things that I think GM could fix. But anyways, before we get started, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll start with the exterior of the truck. All right, guys, so to start with, like I said, we're going to start with the exterior. 20,000 miles, and the design of this truck still is my favorite part of the truck. I mean, it looks aggressive. Even in its stock formation, it was aggressive looking. Now we just kind of doubled that with the tires and suspension and things like that. So the suspension, the looks of the truck have definitely held up over the 20,000 miles. Super glad with that. The only bad part about the exterior of these trucks is the paint seems a little on the cheap side. Rock chips come and go easily on these, especially around where the fenders kind of stick out and stuff. So I think GM could fix that. But overall, the looks of the truck have been amazing. I will say some of the things I learned straight from factory, these trucks, the headlights are kind of pointed up. The fog lights are pointed a little too far down. So there's these two spots right here in the front of the bumper where the bolts to the fog lights are, and you twist those with a Phillips head or a flathead screwdriver, and you can adjust those. And then when you pop the hood, there is a white bolt, 8mm bolt that you use to adjust the headlights. And I had to adjust mine down. They were pretty much pointed to the sky. And so I was getting flashed all the time, and then the suspension lift made that worse because it just raised the headlights even more. So that was a fix I had to do myself. I think GM could probably spend a little more time in making their adjustments from the factory a little bit better. But overall, that wasn't an issue. Easy fix, super simple. And then if, there's not really a whole lot to say about the exterior. I would say you could take this either way, but this whole front fascia here is one piece. So if you want to work on anything, like I had this light bar back here, if you want to work on anything behind the grill or in here or anything like that, you have to take the whole front fascia off. Even if you want to change these headlights or fog lights out, this whole front end has to come off, and you can see it as, okay, one part, maybe you'll break less parts instead of having, 5 different parts. Like if this was separate, maybe you lower your risk of breaking things. I see it as this is one big piece. If you break this one big piece, you kind of screwed up, and we'll have to fix all that. So that sucks. And if you ever want to replace the bulbs in the headlights or these, you can't, because these are a solid enclosed unit. So you can't change your bulbs out like the Colorado guys can. So that's a little downside. I will say the taillights, you can replace the bulbs in the taillights, and you can do all that, but for some reason they kept all this stuff enclosed and hard to get to. But not a huge deal. Lights are bright. I will say, if we come back here to the rear fender, when you're on trails, if you upgrade your tires even slightly, the way GM has built these fender wells, when your tires are flexed, and this is for those of us that off-road, when this flexes out, your tire seems to go forward instead of right in the middle. Your tire seems to flex forward a little bit, so it rubs on this bolt. And so the last trails I went on, it actually popped this whole fender out. So I don't know, there's something weird that GM did. When this flexes out, the tire goes forward and rubs up here instead of back there. That's not a huge deal, I guess. If you want to trim this down a little bit, I plan to trim that eventually. We'll see. Maybe the next round of tires will be full 35s. But exterior wise, I mean, I've really loved this truck, and there's not a whole lot to change. I will say, with these trucks, the community and people around these trucks have been amazing. I haven't had any negativity from anybody. I've had a few difference of opinions, like, oh, I have too many lights on the front, but that's opinions, and you know, can't hate on people for having opinions. Everybody likes to do their trucks differently. But had to change up the red GMC logos for black. But community around this truck has been great. Even the Colorado guys, I've been in some of the other groups, everybody's negative. Mustang groups, everybody's negative. I've been in those Mustang groups. You ask a question and people comment and tell you to Google the answer. These trucks, you ask a question, and if you're like me, you're asking those groups because you want real world experience, a real world answer. And so that's why I ask questions in those groups, and everybody's been friendly. Nobody has yet to say, why don't you just Google it? Google exists. Everybody's been helpful. Even all the fellow YouTube guys, they all kind of help out. And there's group messages and things out there that you can join if you have more questions. Definitely join some of the groups. They've been really helpful. But overall, this truck has been great. There's not anything on the exterior that I would change. The few things I said are just kind of some things that could be adjusted a little bit, but they're not, you know, they're not bad. Nothing bad about the truck on the exterior. So we can move on to the interior of the truck, and we'll talk about some things I might change there. All right, guys, so interior-wise, some of the things I would change, I know a lot of people wish there was more storage in these trucks. That's not the case for me, as I know these are smaller trucks, so the storage is limited. The storage under the seats is plenty, especially because I have the roof rack and toolboxes and things in the bed of the truck that I store things. And I got my mountain bike gear just thrown in here. One of the things I would change, though, is being able to fold this back seat down, not for storage. I could care less about the storage behind the seat, but because I carry my dogs back here sometimes. And if this could fold down, it would leave just more space for my dogs to stand, a more level ground. One of my dogs is a little clumsy, and when I'm turning and stuff, he slides around and stuff. So having a flat surface that could fold down and allow me to put a dog bed or blankets and stuff for them to lay down and sit back here would be great. That's the only thing I would change in the back seat, is being able to fold this down. And I think everybody has that same complaint. And then this rear window. So for a base model truck that's $40,000, I don't understand why we can't make this powered up by the dome light somehow. You know, because if you want to open this, you got to either pull over or open it before you get in the truck. And then if you want to close it, it starts raining or something, you have to pull over and close it. So I think that's dumb. Other vehicles have the powered rear glass. I don't know why we can't have that in this. I guess because this is supposed to be a lower cost truck, but we all know these trucks are expensive. So, you know, at least give us that. And then onto the front, obviously I have custom leather seats in here. The seats came with cloth. That didn't bother me. Even the elevation trim gives you the option to get leather seats. I didn't go with that just because I bought my truck off the floor with the options it already came with. But a few things I noticed through the 20,000 miles is it didn't take long for the window controls over here to start rattling with the music and stuff. I wish GM would either look into that. Actually, I think you can take these in and they'll replace this stuff. I don't know how long they'll last before they start rattling again, but I've noticed there's a rattle in the window panels, the window controls over here, and then when it's windy out, I hear a rattle up here in this column, in this pillar, that I haven't quite figured out what exactly is doing it. I don't know if it's this or if it's the window. I actually think it's the trim between it's actually the space between this trim and the window that is the rattle. And then so far those are the only rattles I notice in the truck, but overall I love the interior. There's not a whole lot I would change on this interior. One thing I would like to add is I don't understand with these expensive vehicles why you can't just go ahead and add a garage door opener on these remotes. We have a Forester, and same thing. It came without it. At least on the Forester, it was an option. It's not even an option for these trucks to add that. I mean, there's spots for buttons up here, the rear view mirror, I mean, spaces for it. So I don't understand why you can't get that. And then I guess this one is more of a true complaint, is these trucks are marketed to be off-road vehicles. And if you get the trim level below the AT4, which is the elevation, the one I'm sitting in, it does not come with 4 low. The only trim level in the lineup that does not come with 4 low, and to me it just doesn't make sense with these being marketed towards people who off-road and camp and things like that. I think I'm a strong believer that if a truck or SUV comes with 4-wheel drive, it should have 4 low by default. Like, I don't see how much more difficult it would be for the manufacturer just to add that in there when they're building these trucks. And I mean, it's whatever at this point. I do without it. The truck does good without it, but I think that should just be standard on 4-wheel drive vehicles. Other than that, I mean, I don't have the Bose system, and these speakers have been amazing. The bass has been good. Honestly, if I went back, I don't even think I would have cared to get this all over again. I think I would have bought this exact same truck. The interior definitely has a little more complaints from me than the exterior, but that's just because it's missing things that I feel like should be standard in these trucks. But other than that, this interior is great. All the infotainment system, the digital dash, everything has been good and worked flawlessly. Knock on wood so far. I know a lot of people have had issues, but I haven't had any, luckily, and it's been great to me. I've traveled with this truck so far. I've went on 2 road trips last year, Colorado and Arizona. Truck's been comfortable, great. Dogs have been comfortable. Definitely held a lot of camping gear. I think overall, exterior and interior wise, the truck is amazing. So let's go ahead and start the truck up, and let's go for a drive and talk about how the drive and the mechanics have been. So drivability in this truck, I have very few complaints. The complaints I have on this truck are probably due to the modifications I made to the truck, to be honest. When this truck was stock, we'll start with gas mileage. When this truck was stock, before I put any suspension tires on it, I averaged, I think, 18 to 20 miles per gallon, and that's a mix between highway driving at 80 miles an hour and just in-town driving at like 35 to 45 miles an hour. So 18 to 20 miles per gallon wasn't bad. I add the suspension and the tires, and now I get like anywhere between 13 and 15 miles per gallon average. There have been times where I even got as low as 11 to 12 miles per gallon, depending on how strong the wind was, because these trucks are not very heavy trucks and a small engine. But I can't really complain because I did those modifications. So if you're looking at these trucks and you don't plan to do that stuff, 18 to 20 I would say is pretty good for a truck. Yeah, these trucks have a small engine, but that's just how the government wants it to be now. I do wish these trucks had an option for, I mean, a V8 would be awesome, don't get me wrong, but I wish these trucks had, I believe the Ford Ranger has the option for a V6 EcoBoost. I wish this had an option for the 6-cylinder turbo or even a diesel, just to get better gas mileage for those of us that do want to kind of modify it a little bit. Because to be honest, there's very little you can modify on this truck without messing up your fuel mileage. I'm just going to be honest. You put a roof rack, it's going to lower it. You put any weight in the bed of the truck, it's going to lower it. That's probably the biggest complaint I have the truck, is the fuel economy. But I kind of did that to myself with the modifications, so I can't complain too much. But overall, this truck drives great. I mean, I have not stock suspension. I have aftermarket suspension, and it drives smooth. It drives great over bumps. Even off-roading, this truck does amazing. Even with the stock suspension was great. It was a comfortable drive, comfortable commuter. All the controls, all the steering wheel and the leather wrapped steering wheel feels premium and good. The acceleration is nice and linear and feels powerful, especially if I floor it. You can definitely feel it kick in. Definitely a nice feel driving this truck. You do hear a little bit of turbo noise now and then if it's not super windy out. I can hear it whistling through the vents, but that's not a huge complaint to me. Wind noise in the cab, it's actually really quiet in the cab. If you were to roll the windows down and then roll them up, just for comparison, it does knock some of that noise down. Radio's good. Radio's great. Plenty of bass for not being the Bose system, in my opinion. I'm hitting all these potholes and it's not throwing me around either. I've pulled a trailer 3 times with this truck and it's done great every time. Even in my last review when I first got the truck, I did say if you pulled a trailer multiple times a week, I wouldn't get this truck, and I'm standing by that, just because if I pulled something all the time, I would want something a little bit more powerful. But if I had a small camper that I took out once or twice a month, this truck is plenty. It's plenty powerful to drive, to pull a camper. And honestly, I don't think you need much more if you're not pulling a trailer all the time. Plenty of room for people back there, as long as they're not over 6 foot. I think you'll be fine for people in the back seat. I just put my dogs back there, so they have plenty of space. I fit 2 German Shepherds in my back seat. Comfortably, maybe not, but they fit back there. The gauge clusters in this truck are great. I wish these were a little bit more customizable. I'd rather be able to have a couple digital readouts than just one, like I had the coolant temperature here in the middle, just because I'm sure you're all aware that the radiator hose, there's something in there that's been eroding and leaking. So I've been keeping an eye on that to make sure that doesn't happen to mine. And then I do like the auto off start button is right there. You can just hit that. But other than like the few things in here, like wishing this was more customizable and things like that, there's not a whole lot of complaints I have when it comes to actually driving this vehicle. It's comfortable. It's got great acceleration if you need it. I try to limit that just to try to save some fuel economy, but it doesn't always happen. I will say there are certain days I see the truck kind of sitting above 2,000 RPMs on the highway. And then there's days where it's sitting below 2,000 RPMs. I've noticed the wind does affect these trucks. If you're driving into wind, it affects these trucks quite a bit, versus if you had a diesel truck or a V8 truck, it's not going to affect it as much. But that comes with having a smaller truck that's light on its feet. One of the things I will say I loved is it snowed a couple weeks ago, and I was traveling to Arizona, and I put the truck in the auto mode, and the truck did amazing in the snow. As soon as it slipped, it kicked in the 4-wheel drive, caught traction, and then kicked it back out, and it did great. I was super happy with how this truck did in the snow. These trucks overall are amazing. I don't have any complaints about how this truck drives. It's been great. I've enjoyed every minute of it. Like I said, we're at 20,112 miles and no issues. I've had the oil changed, I think 3 or 4 times now. Probably 4 times. 4 times sounds about right. Nothing out of the ordinary with this truck in the 20,000 miles I've had it. And it's been great. I do have the blinker issue where you turn the right blinker on and then you turn and it goes shut off and it throws the left blinker on. I need to get that reprogrammed, I think, but that hasn't been an issue to me. But overall, driving this truck's been amazing, and definitely, if you're looking at buying one, I would definitely do it. I would buy this truck all over again. All right, guys, so that's kind of my, I would say, quick review. I'm sure it's longer than 15 minutes. I don't know how long that video is going to be, but that's my quick review. Overall, love the truck, happy with the truck. I would do it all over again. Some of the things that I wish GM would change is adding 4-low across the board to any vehicle that has 4-wheel drive, adding a garage remote into the mirror for those of us that have a garage, and just taking the time and effort to make sure the headlights and fog lights are adjusted to where they need to be. I shouldn't be buying a new vehicle and going and having to adjust these myself. That's not a hard thing to do. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to do it, but that's just one of my little pet peeves about it. And then maybe up the quality of their paint, just so the rock chips don't come so easy. But overall, the looks of this truck, the design has been amazing. The capabilities of this truck have yet to, you know, they keep surprising me what this truck can do. We've been through sand, snow, ice, water, rock crawling, all that, and it's tackled all the obstacles like it should, like a true off-roader. We're definitely giving the Tacomas and Jeeps a run for their money. When it comes down, especially the new Tacomas, and put this up against the Jeep and the Tacoma, I feel like this would come out on top every time. With the right parts and right build on it, these trucks, there's no telling what these trucks are capable of. Maybe someday we'll LS swap it when it's paid off. But yeah, it's been amazing. Super stoked to look forward to how this build keeps unfolding. And like I said, if you're looking for one or looking at one, definitely get it, and you won't be disappointed. But anyways, that's it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.